Uncommon Conversations. I am your host, Jaja C. Hubbard. Listen, you already know I have a wonderful show today. I have an amazing young lady, Miss T. Hayes, in the building, a native Detroiter. Not only is she a beautiful wife, beautiful mother, but she is an amazing entrepreneur. Listen, she went from the D to the A and back to the D again. Listen, I want you all to get ready for my amazing guest, Miss T. Hayes. Hey, T. Hayes.
Hey, how are you?
How are you doing today? Thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I'm doing excellent.
That is wonderful. Now, T. Hayes, you're a Detroit native,
I am, yes.
born and raised in the D. What side of Detroit were you raised on?
I'm from the west side, North Rosedale Park, here all the way up through high school.
Beautiful. Now, growing up in the city of Detroit, what were some of your influences and caused you to want to give back to some of the businesses that you've started?
I would definitely say my parents and my church home. I'm a fellowship chapel member. Been really involved in community, um, all kind of organizations, whatever it was that I wanted to do. My parents put me in. So things like college prep, Bell Sprites. I've done so many things. I mean, I think the city just kind of poured into the youth, and that's something that made me want to give back. So my parents and my church definitely.
And speaking of your parents, your beginning of your entrepreneurship was very much so influenced by your parents, especially your father. Now, tell me about what it was like growing up with your parents working really hard. Because we're from the Motor City, so a lot of our parents, worked in the plants. They worked for the big three. So, what was that like growing up with your parents in a household and developing that work ethic?
It was definitely security and stability. You know, with the older generation, both my parents worked corporate jobs. My mom worked for AT&T for 36 years, and my dad retired from AAA. So definitely, I think that stability and the security of having that good corporate job with the benefits and everything. But for me, I always knew that I wanted freedom of a schedule. I never really understood why you have a family and then you're at work 40 hours or we're at school for 40 hours and then you get these couple days in between or, you have to really plan out vacation time and paid time off. So one thing that was really big and important for me is the freedom of a schedule. Because there were times that my parents couldn't come to certain things because of work schedules or, we had to leave early. I can remember going on vacations and my mom literally like road tripping, getting off the road, stopping at the rest stop to get her little bag, take her, and we dropping her off at work. So those are things that I'm just like, dang, like straight off the road. So that definitely played a big part into my entrepreneurship role at the time. Being young, you don't know what that looks like. You don't know that that's called entrepreneurship, but I know that it's called being on my own time. So that's really my biggest thing with being an entrepreneur.
And the beauty in all of that is that you started something called the Beauty Zone in 2014. Now, tell us, what was it like starting off your first adventure as an entrepreneur, having limited resources? Because in our community, we're not taught a real true blueprint about entrepreneurship. It's kind of like we jump in it and we figure out as we go. What was that journey like for you starting the Beauty Zone?
So Beauty Zone actually started with me working at a shop. I was working at a shop in Douglasville. I was pregnant with my first daughter, and this braid shop opened. I lived in the suburbs of Atlanta or Georgia at the time. I'm like, I'm bored. I'm not doing nothing. Let me go apply. I got hired on the spot, and I was working there. And then we were commission based, so it was like a 60-40 split, I believe. Well, the shop ended up closing, but I still had clients calling me like, we still need our hair. Like, I'm like, well, I don't just want y'all coming to my house. And it's kind of crazy because I didn't want them coming to my house, but I didn't have a problem going to their homes. So what I started doing, I just started adding gas to my hair prices, and I would drive all over Atlanta doing hair. And it got a lot of feedback, great feedback, because who don't want to stay at home and get their hair? Like, who don't want to stay at home and get their hair styled, especially with styles that take up to, 6 hours, between 4 and 6 hours. My sister She does graphic designs, T-style graphics. So she made me some business cards, and it was just it. I moved back home in 2017, and I posted, and at the time I think I was charging like $60 for some box braids. Yeah, it was I enjoyed it, and I never really, saw myself being a hairstylist or being a braider. That was like never on the radar, but it's a skill that I had that I poured into. My clients, one of my church members actually, she was like, you need to get you a little Instagram page. And I'm like, for what? Like what I need that for? She's like, to post your hair. So I did that. And I think within like a couple of weeks, like I was just getting people like booking back to back. And I'm like, oh, this is great. So in 2019 is when I actually revamped and became Beauty Zone. My mom booked her an appointment to go get some lash extensions. And so she comes home from this appointment and she's like, why you never said you wanted to do this? Like, this is great. This is a moneymaker. And I'm like, I wasn't really trying to do all that. But she paid for my training to get certified in lash extensions. So I knew I had to change my name because I was more than braids. Incorporate myself. So that's where the T came from. And I had a dream. My mom had sent me a couple things. I had a dream like Beauty Zone. And that was all she wrote. And here we are 2 years later. And I'm very lucrative at this point.
And you know what, T. Hayes, I love that story about Beauty Zone because there are so many entrepreneurs that anticipate or expect immediate results and immediate success. And you went from a salon to transitioning to starting your own, and that was scary because sometimes people are comfortable with a comfort zone and having that support. And you say, you know what, I'm about to step out here. Now, a part of the Beauty Zone is about women's self care. Why is that so important? Because you're a mother and you have three amazing, beautiful children. And tell me, why is self care so important? Not just for women, but men as well.
I think self care is important because you cannot pour from an empty cup, right? So we go out here and we work these jobs, we take care of our families, we provide, we have a social life, we do all of these things. But if we don't take care of ourselves, we cannot take care of others. Oftentimes, especially in the Black community, we pour from an empty cup because we don't focus on ourselves. We don't recenter ourselves. We don't date ourselves. We don't give ourselves that room to just kind of be at peace. We're always on the go, right? And more specifically, especially for women and mothers, we get caught up in our roles. We get caught up in our titles. And then we look up and we're like, well, who am I? And so that's why it's really, really important for me. Self-care is a really big thing for me because I know what it is not to have it. I know how that made me feel, not to be focusing on myself and just, worrying about the family. And I know like my mom, even with our family, she was, kind of that go-to person. And then it's like, well, when is the last time that you did something for yourself? Like, when is the last time that you just bought yourself something without feeling guilt? We talk about that mom guilt, and dads get it too. Like you just said, men have it too. But we have to get out of that and just, be selfish sometimes. I'm really big on that.
And T. Hayes, you did something that is really inspiring. You started a nonprofit organization. It is called Mommy's Melodies. And where were y'all at when I had my baby 17 years ago? Okay. But anyway, you have Mommy Melodies, and it's a nonprofit organization. And you provide women with resources. You empower women to be their best selves, and that is really, really important because after a woman not only has carrying a child for 9 months, but they have this child, they have to redevelop themselves physically, emotionally, spiritually. And men also have it too, but we have it a lot more because we're going through the physical, actual change. Tell us about what was the reasoning behind Mommy's Melodies and what is it all about?
Okay, so Mommy's Melodies that's my baby. Like Beauty Zone is my bread and butter, but Mommy's Melodies is my heart. In 2017, I was pregnant with my son, and I had a 2-year-old. My husband and I we weren't even married yet at the time. We were down Yeah, we got married in 2016, so we were married. We were freshly married. We had one car. His work hours were like the worst that I ever could imagine in my life. And I was at home with this 2-year-old pregnant, and I was losing my mind. I didn't have a lot of friends in Georgia, and it really didn't matter because I didn't have a car to go nowhere. I lived out of the way, so it wasn't like, and if you know Georgia and Atlanta, you know, you could live up the street from somebody and still be 30, 40 minutes away. So I got on Facebook and I'm just typing in mom groups, right? Because I'm like, I gotta like find somebody to talk to. And a few popped up. I joined a few, and that was really helpful for me. The only thing was they didn't look like me. And when I say they didn't look like me, there was not a big population of Black moms, at least not the ones that I found in my area when I lived in Atlanta. Really beneficial. We would go and do like little play dates, and we would go out, and sometimes we had mom's night out. And it was great to just be able to talk to somebody else that could relate me being up with the baby, or my husband not really understanding certain things or how I was feeling, because a lot of times men can be they can empathize with our situations, but they can't relate to it because they experience it. Being pregnant and after a pregnancy, there are things that we just cannot control as women because there are things going on with our hormones and our mind and everything. And we can't even explain it. Like, I can't explain to you. So being able to, talk to moms, that was really important. And that really helped me. And even with postpartum, we really don't get into the postpartum depression. Our big mamas and our grandmas, it's kind of just like, well, that's just what happened. It wasn't a name for it, but there are reasons, and there's an explanation for why women feel the way that we feel. So moving back home, I'm like, you know what? I know a lot of moms. I had a few friends that were having babies at the same time as me, and it just the name really came from. So my first name Tarana means melodies, and I think motherhood is a universal language like music. Thing I learned in middle school, I had a music teacher, Mr. DeBose, who he would drill that into us. Like, music is a universal language. Like, you can go anywhere and everybody can sing the same song. They don't even have to, speak the same language. And I think for moms, that's what it is. It's a universal language. It doesn't matter your economic status. It doesn't matter your education. It doesn't matter where you live. We can all relate to the fact that we birth children and we're raising them. And women, like I said, we get caught up in that role. We get caught up in that title, and we don't know who we are. So it was important for me. I really focused on the woman inside of mommy. I actually have a book coming out this year called The Woman Inside of Mommy, and it's a weekly devotional, just different self-care tips that I use to help me. It was at one point where I was telling my husband, like, yo, I need a weekend a month. And we have to be demanding of that, because if we don't speak up, nobody knows that we need help. So one thing I tell my moms, like, when somebody asks you, do you need help? Don't just be like, oh no, I got it, whatever. And then you crying that night because you're just so tired. Like, it's okay to ask for help. That's one thing that I really had to learn. I'm really big in that. We do a lot of activities like with our kids, and we don't leave them out, because without them we are not mothers. But I do focus on that woman, because we are still women at the end of the day. And the thing about it is, these kids, they'll grow up and they'll leave. And then you still sitting here with yourself trying to figure out, what did you do for the past, 18 plus years with your little baby. So
You ain't lying, girl. I'm going through that right now. I'm going through it right now, T. Hayes. Okay. Now, speaking of transition and location change, you left and went down to the ATL like so many other Detroiters did too. Okay. And then you made your way back to Detroit. What do you think Detroit was missing that caused you to go somewhere else and relocate? What does Detroit need to keep Detroiters here?
well, one thing I would definitely say, the support is different. Detroit, we kind of had that crabs in a barrel mentality, where it's like, it's a competition. We all can't eat. Like, we all can't sit at the table and find ways to work together. I gotta outdo you before you outdo me, and then you gonna come back and outdo me. So it's this competition that Detroiters have created. But in actuality, if we work together, like the opportunities are endless. I will say, being down south, I was in Florida first before I went to Atlanta. So when you say like what Detroit didn't have, it really just didn't have my man. To be quite literally, like down south, you get that southern hospitality, right? Tell people like when I moved to Atlanta, I never really worried about like going somewhere and like stuff happening or anything like that. Now, granted, it does happen. It happens everywhere. I want to get that mentality being here, like, oh, Detroit is just so this. But stuff happen in the hoods of Idaho and Iowa, wherever you go, the hood's gonna be the hoods. The southern hospitality and the support, it's just a little different, a little more open and accepting. Where I said, like, there's not that competition. We all can eat. In Atlanta, it's like, all right, we all can eat. How can I help you? How can you help me? And Detroiters have to get that mentality back because it's such a beautiful place. But people aren't able to see that because we fighting each other. It has to stop in order for us to be able, to progress and move forward.
And I love the fact that, and I tell people all the time, you got to lead with love. And, you talked about your boo, your man. There are so many women and men out here during COVID and during the pandemic who were isolated, who were single. Depression, anxiety, loneliness skyrocketed. Being that you are a married woman, with a family, with beautiful children, what is some advice that you want to give to other single women and single men out there that are looking to have what you have developed?
I, One thing I always say, if men were more honest and women were more open, we would be a lot further. I just got a tattoo that says, we don't possess people, we experience them. A lot of times with people, we want control. We want that, we want to be in control. And you have to let that go. To operate in a union and in a relationship, everybody just kind of got to release and be open because you're literally merging two different backgrounds, two different upbringings, two different childhoods, two different minds, and you got to figure out how to make that work. And so we give up so easily, especially in my generation. It's like, all right, nah, this, that, I don't like that. All right, bye. I had somebody ask me the other day. They said, "Well, do you wake up some days and you just don't like him anymore?" Of course. Yeah, of course. Liking somebody is conditional. That's based on what they do, what they say, how they made you feel that day, whatever. So we have our days where we don't like each other, whatever. But when you love somebody unconditionally, you're able to kind of just see past their surface flaws. The thing about it is, everybody is gonna have something, right? We all come with our own set of baggage, and that's just what it is. Nobody is perfect, and so you find that person who's stuff that you're willing to deal with. And sometimes you got to take on a little more, and sometimes they got to take on a little more from you. And so it's a balance. But I think the one thing, like I said, men got to be more honest. We got to just stop trying to control situations by lying because that only ends up in a mess in the end. And then women just have to be more open. When my husband and I first started dating, we were long distance. So it was unrealistic to think that I was the only one, right? Like, conversation just had to be had. Like, look, you doing what you doing, I'm doing what I'm doing, but we still can do this together. We can date, right? So people don't understand what dating is. You can date multiple people. If you're single, you date multiple people. It gets confused when we start adding in titles and boyfriend and girlfriend, and then you doing this for me, making me feel like this, but you doing it for other people too. But we have to take that time to actually find out what we want, figure out, what we want, instead of trying to do that in conjunction with being somebody's everything.
And speaking of letting go, I tell everybody that this is the year of the woman. And now that we have new leadership in our country that could potentially change the trajectory of our world, what do you say to the leadership, not only here in the city of Detroit, but the leadership around the world? How important it is to have those leadership capabilities and those leadership characteristics?
I think it's really important, and I think we have to stop hiding from those leadership roles, and especially women like demanding our seat at the table. You know, for a long time, you had the women's fight and you had this, and women weren't allowed to do this and we weren't allowed to do that. But we have to kind of just put our foot down and demand because the world don't move without us, right? Like nothing continues without women. And even for like our elders, they have to step back a little bit because it is time to release that control. Like I never understood why these judges or these Congress people, like they stay in office like forever. Like who said that? Because we're still operating with their mentality from 1970 whatever. Those I think it's time to relook and revisit and edit some of these leadership positions and how everything operates because there is evolution happening, and just like the technology has evolved and everything around us has evolved. Like we've had our first black president who had two terms, and now we have a black woman of color, however you want to classify her. However, everybody get a little technical, but the sister black, you look at her, they say, well, that's really important to see, for us to see and to experience, because that's huge. Like, not only is she a woman, but she is a woman of color who went to HBCU, okay? So it's getting a little more real. And like you said, it's the year of the woman, but women have to be ready to take that because ain't nobody just gonna give it to us. And so when we get it, we really have to, show why we are why we are the rulers of the world, if you will.
Absolutely. Now, during this time frame, we all have been locked down. The world has opened up just slightly, off and on. What was it like, and how has the pandemic affected you, being a mom of three children, having a husband, and you locked down in the house? What was that like? How has the pandemic affected you, and what are some tools that you can give other moms that have a household full of children and a husband that they got to take care of?
So, the pandemic, oh Lord. Okay, I definitely say we got to start getting some resources for some snacks. Okay, because these kids eat all day. Like, I don't understand because I know they don't eat that much at school, but they literally wake up asking for stuff and go to bed asking for stuff. But I would definitely say, the pandemic came and just it came, right? It was no warning. It was just here. Uh, and if we look at it, it wasn't as bad, but it was still bad, but it was also beneficial because it really allowed my family and I to kind of slow down and just be in the moment. We actually moved in with my parents in February. We were in the process of buying a house. And so we moved in, saved a little bit of money till we closed. And then Corona was like, y'all about to be here a little while longer. That was a big thing, but I'm actually really, really grateful for it. And when you look at it, sometimes we have to take ourselves out of things and kind of just be like, well, you know what, that really wasn't that bad, because it did allow me to just be. That first month, everybody was like, oh, use this time to be productive and like do this and do that. And I did absolutely nothing. Like nothing. I did nothing. I didn't open up a computer. I did not touch a content creation. I did nothing. And that was some rest that I did not know that I needed. My body probably knew it. And so my body was probably really thankful. And then, we were able to we had to get really creative during the pandemic. We was around here doing photo shoots because after a while, the kids just got bored. Definitely say get creative, like put them phones down, do something. We ended up watching the Marvel movies in the order that the storyline goes and not how they came out. So that was like a 2-week process. But it was just fun to be creative and do different things. I'm not an outside mama, but if you are an outside mama, you should definitely take those kids. I can definitely tell you the kids will enjoy it.
That's beautiful. Now, T. Hayes, every time I have a guest on the show, I always like to play a little game, okay? Now, the game is called the Survival Kit. Okay, so I'm gonna name 3 items, okay? You get to use one, you lose one, and you give one away. Are you game to play, T. Hayes?
Ready? Come on.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to name the first three. First round: paper clips, lip gloss, a comb. Paper clips, lip gloss, a comb. You use one, lose one, and give one away. This is the survival kit. You got to survive now.
Ooh. I'm gonna keep the lip gloss, and I'm going to.
You got to lose one and give one away.
Okay, I'm gonna lose the paper clip
Okay?
and give away the comb.
You're going to give away the comb. Okay. Second round. Extension cord, flip phone, Ugg boots. Extension cord, flip phone, Ugg boots. You're going to use one, lose one, and give one away.
I'm gonna keep that flip phone because them flip phones kept the battery charged.
Okay.
Keeping the flip phone. I'm gonna lose the extension cord and give the boots away.
Okay. Third round. Raincoat, a pair of stockings, a pillow. Raincoat, stockings, a pillow. Lose one, use one, give one away.
Okay, I'm gonna keep the coat, a pillow, and the stockings. I'm going to lose the stockings and give the pillow away.
Cool beans. Thank you so much, T. Hayes, for playing the survival kit game with me today. Now, T. Hayes, before we get out of here, we're having so much fun and having such a great time. What are some things that are coming up for you, and what can our viewers expect from you in the future, and how can they get in contact with you?
Okay, so we got a lot coming up. This is the working year. So March, I have a model March, which is through Beauty Zone. So I am accepting clients for free services. I just got some new skills, so I started doing the ombre brows, which are the semi-permanent eyebrows. So that lash extensions and also quick weaves. So those services will be offered totally free, and you can at Beauty Zone for that, which is BEAU_T_zone on Instagram, and that has more information there. Like I said, I have a book releasing looking at May, but we're gonna slow roll this because I want it to be right. Called The Woman Inside Mommy, and you can get more information on Mommy's Melodies, and that's just MOMMIESMELODIES. And I also have Mommy March, which it'll be activities every weekend, socially distanced, of course. But we're gonna do some fun stuff. We're gonna get some mind, body, and soul things together, and then it'll also be like a research group for the book. I have a podcast coming out. Make sure you follow Two Pretty Teas. We have a really good giveaway coming up soon. So that's coming up. Just working, trying to get better, be better. But yeah, so the book, Model March, Mommy March, and this podcast, you all can definitely look forward to those 4 things coming from me.
Now that was the power of a conversation. I want to thank my very, very special guest today, Miss T. Hayes. She is the founder of Mommy Melodies and the entrepreneur of Beauty Zone. We got to make sure that we support her in all of her endeavors coming up. Listen, if you enjoyed the show today, I want to hear from you. Yes, you. Listen, I want you to write to me, P.O. Box 27866, Detroit, Michigan, 48227. And if you don't want to write to us, guess what? You can check us out on the web at www.jajachhubbard.com. I want to hear all about it. Listen, if that doesn't work for you, we are on social media. Check us out at jajachhubbard.com. And I want to hear from you soon. Listen, until next week, I will see you again. Peace.